Hey, welcome back to the 8th video of the Sublime Spotify series. And in this episode, we have a lot of things to do because by the end of it, we want to deploy it. So let's get right to it. This is where we left off. We had 26 commits, and I already have it open right here. And we did those two. And while you were asleep, I did a lot of improvements and refactorings because I really didn't want to stretch this video out even longer. So I got them all open right here, and we're gonna go through them real quickly. All right, so this is the one that we did together. We added the cache token to the gitignore file. We implemented the main loop wiring in our main object. We removed some stuff from the settings files. We taught package control plugin how to download our dependencies, which is requests. Let's see what else. Yeah, we obviously implemented the client. That was the main purpose of the previous video. We added the client ID and client secret to the settings manager, but without validation. And we implemented the actual main loop in the Spotify object that also checks if the plugin is enabled or not. And in the next commit, we removed the folder, and we didn't realize that the GitHub, when GitHub generated the gitignore file, it added the leap folder. So the whole Spotify library went away. So we added it again. And then I did some refactorings, nothing major, just removed some comment, and I noticed there was a spelling mistake in the answer HTML. All right, that was an interesting one. I fixed some imports. So the thing is that when we actually run the plugin, then these imports will succeed. But when we're in our tests, we include this module differently. So these ones will fail and it will end up here. So I noticed that and I fixed it. So then we renamed the whole repository, and we renamed it to Spotify Web. And then I actually went again and renamed it to Spotify Web. And then I went through all of the files and changed all the instances of Sublime Spotify REST to Spotify Web, and the same for Sublime-Spotify-REST to Spotify Web. And actually I forgot it in a few places, and there's a commit somewhere in the back where I fix it again. All right, what else did I do? Okay, so I added validation to client ID and client secret, and basically they raise exceptions if it's none or if it's empty, and I wrote tests for that. And by the tests, there's only one interesting part in Python. This is how you test for the exception message. So you have some regex here. In my case, it's just a string. I want it to completely match. And then you say whiz, and then self assert raises regular expression, and then you assert that it's going to raise this exception was a message that would match this regular expression, which in my case again is just a string. And this is the code that actually throws an exception. Okay, nothing interesting in this one. Right, over here I decided to move the HTML that we show once the authorization succeeds. We had it hard coded over here, and I just put it in an extra file. So instead of doing that, I'm saying open, and then the file was the read permissions, and just read the file. And this is the file, so it's on the resources index HTML. And in this one, I threw it out completely and replaced it with something cooler. In fact, I'm going to show it to you right now real quick. If we go over here, then this is it, resources indexes. And if we right click and say open in browser, and it opens it in Firefox, and this is how it's going to look like. It's a bit fancier than just saying everything went well, and it's actually a link. So if we click that, it's a bit hidden, it's like an Easter egg. It shows the repository. Okay, and in Firefox, for some reason, if you click on the link, it does that stuff. So all right, so where were we? Somewhere here, right? And then I played with the HTML a little, added some shadows, and then I removed the Spotify icon from the page for legal concerns, because technically I believe people could sue me, like Spotify could sue me for pretending that my app is a Spotify app. So I just removed it. In fact, maybe by the end of this video, I'm gonna add we're gonna add my own, from dev inside you. All right, so in this one, I just forgot, as I mentioned before, I forgot to rename a few things, and same thing here, and same thing here, and oh yeah, that's an interesting one. That actually happened right now, 9 minutes. So before I started recording, I realized that that some tests were they were not failing. But here's the thing. So first of all, there was a typo. It's not assert equal, it's assert equal, and it's a server test. So let's go to them real quick. Actually, test server. Here we go. So this one was saying assert equal, and the thing is that I'm not entirely sure why this happened. So first of all, whatever was in here was wrong. We had http://localhost 1337, right? And if I run the test now, I'm not sure if I need to reload the project, but I don't believe so. See, it says that it's all fine, but if I actually click here and I go to console, it's gonna say assertion error. I don't know why this is happening. Maybe it's a bug in the testing framework, or maybe because I don't believe that there's some threading involved here. I mean, sure, we have a timer, but the server itself runs and should run in the same thread as the tests are running. So yeah, so this is the right answer. The problem is that it only shows this to us if we're actually looking. Anyway, let's leave it like that. So if we test it again, it says reloading, so now it's fine. And if we do the same thing again, console, see, now it's actually fine. All right, so let's finally get to the content of this video, which is way more exciting than just reviewing the code changes. All right, so in the main file, which is called Spotify Web now, by the way, we had this Sublime Settings Manager .display message. Let's jump into that, because this is what we want to do, right? So as of right now, we're showing it we're showing the song in the console, but we want to show it right here. So this display message method just goes to Sublime Active Window status message. The thing is that I think I already mentioned that before. This message disappears after 4 seconds. In fact, if you just go to console, we're already in the console. So if I import Spotify, if I import Sublime, then I can actually do this, right? And the message is going to be, will disappear in 4 seconds. See, it's over here, and it's gonna disappear in a few seconds. There we go. So this is not the one that we will use. The one that we will use is called similarly. It's actually called, let me check. It's called set status, but it's not on the window. It's on the view. So a view it's not only tabs. A view basically is everything that is drawn. So this is a view. This is a view. If I press Command-Shift-P, this is also a view. Okay, so in the main file, where we inject the side effect, which is right now print, we have to make it look like as if it's one thing, right? So Sublime has a bunch of views, and every view can have its own status, but our Spotify object demands it to be one thing. So we're going to implement a simple wrapper around the window object that will just manage views for us. So it's going to be a simple pops up, publish subscribe pattern. If you don't know it, it's super simple, and it's going to be called window. So we're going to write tests today again. So we're going to create a file called TestWindow.py. By the way, I'm getting those rendering issues sometimes. First of all, because I'm recording, and secondly, because I'm running inside of the virtual machine. So it's not a Sublime thing. So if you're running it natively, you shouldn't get those rendering artifacts, okay? And we're writing tests today because this is the first time actually where we will use something super native to Sublime, because in order to test that, we will actually need to create views and then close them and stuff. So I wanted to show you how to do that. Okay, so we start as always. It's going to be a class called TestWindow, and it extends test case from unit test. So we need to import it as we always do. Okay, and we're gonna have only two tests. We're gonna have test if nothing is set, get status should yield an empty string, and we're going to implement it in a second. And the other one is going to be if something is set, get status should yield something. All right. And these tests will be super similar, which is why they both will just call our own method, assert, which will get an expected value. So in this case, we expect an empty string. In this case, we expect a string that says something. Before we implement those two methods, we're going to implement the typical hooks of a testing framework, which are called setup and tear down. Tear down. So these are the hooks that will be run before and every each test. Okay. So in the setup, we're going to create a test key. We're just going to call it test key. We need the test key because at some point we're going to have a view. Right, and this view is going to have the method set status, and it needs a key, and it needs the actual status, right? So basically, those things over here, it's a dictionary, right? This is how we will be able to in the future to modify the status message for the same key. So our key, in production is going to be called Spotify Web, and we're going to say, put this song in there or remove it. So basically we're playing only with our key, and we don't have access to all the others because we just don't know the keys. Okay, so this is why we need the test key. And so now we actually create the view. We create it by saying Sublime, and for that we need to import Sublime already. Import Sublime, and we just say active window, as we did, by the way, in what did we do it in the settings manager, I believe, right? In this one, yeah. We said Sublime active window, but now we're actually gonna create a new file. Remember we did something similar in the also in the settings manager. Over here we said open file, right, on the window, but in this one we actually create a new file, so another tab will open. The next thing is a tiny trick. We need the settings object, and I'm going to explain why. And this is the main settings object, right? So this is the one, the one from Sublime. So if you go to preferences and go to settings, this is the one that we're talking about, the Sublime settings. So these are not Spotify settings. And we need to make sure that this setting, close windows when empty, is false, right? Because this test is going to create a file, and then in tear down it's going to close it, and we just want to prevent the Sublime closes as well in case no other tabs are open. And the last thing to do is to actually create our window. This is the class that we will write in a few seconds, and window abstracts over this key. So for all the views, it will call this set status method was the same key. Okay, this is the window, and we need to do the same trick as we always do. This one over here, but in this case we're going into Sublime, and for that we need to import OS and we need to import sys. So before we go and create it, let's finish the teardown method first. So in the teardown method, we're gonna say window set status bar message to nothing, which is what we want to have, right? Because every time we're running new tests, we want to start with a clean slate where there is nothing. So on all the open views, there is nothing in there. Okay, and this is some Sublime maintenance. So if we actually have a view, whoops, if we actually have a view, this one. So if setup did everything correctly, then we want to clear it out. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to say, set view sat scratch to true. And what this does is that it allows empty buffers to be closed. So sorry, not empty buffers, basically dirty buffers. So in this case, for example, look, we didn't save the file. So if I press Command W and try to close the file, Sublime is going to say save changes, or so I can save, I can cancel, and I can close without saving. So in this case, we're going to say sorry. In this case, we're going to say cancel. But if this setting was set on that view, then this pop-up would just not show up, right? And this is what what we want during automated tests, right? We want it just to close automatically without any human intervention, right? Automated tests, okay? And then again, some Sublime things, just view. There's also a window object on the view, so it's not our window, it's the Sublime native window, because every view belongs to some window. We're gonna focus view on that one, just so that we can say run command close file. In fact, you know what, in the beginning, let's not do that, so that we can actually see that the setup and the teardown actually works. So the first time we're going to run it, we're going to close the file ourselves. Okay, so the only thing that's left to do is actually to implement this assert method, and we're going to outline it, but we're not going to implement it now. So we're going to say assert self expected, and it's going to do some assertions. Okay, for now, let's just save it and actually create the window class. Let's get a Sublime new file, save as window.py. All right, and the window is super simple. It's going to be only like 30 lines long. It's just a class that in the constructor gets the self that I usually forget and the status bar key, and all it's doing is it saves the status bar key in the variable, right? So as of right now, it should be enough to satisfy our tests, right? That's all that it's doing. So now let's write the assert one. So our window object is just an implementation of the publish subscribe pattern, and it will have methods subscribes and unsubscribe. So let's just do this. Self.window, which is this one. Remember, before every test, an instance of this window is going to be created with subscribe. Well, self view. This one, okay. And then we'll just say window. Actually, you know what? Let's do the subscribe method first. Let's do some, actual test run development. So over here, we're going to have an empty dictionary, which is going to be called views. Okay, this is how you instantiate an empty dictionary in Python. Okay, and now let's implement the subscribe, and get self, and it gets the view. And notice, because of DAG typing, we don't need to import. Anything, right, from Sublime. Okay, so over here, all we need to do is to say self views set default, which is how you put elements into a dictionary in Python. And you give it a key, which is view ID, and the view itself, and that's it, we're done. So every time you implement in some pops up thing yourself, you have two choices. The first choice is to have a dictionary, or in some languages it's called a map, which is just a set of key value pairs. And for that, you have to make sure that the key in Python, it's called hashable, or in other languages it's called, comparable. So basically, the key is unique, right? So that this key uniquely represents some view in this case. So in our case, luckily, the view, the Sublime views, they have an ID function, which is unique, right? It's just integers. So every time Sublime opens a window, it assigns it some ID. And the second option that you have is to have some sort of set. But then you need to make sure that the objects that you give it to have the same properties as the key, right? So they're unique, that they're comparable. So a view, for example, is not an object like that. It's not a data structure, it's an actual object. So if we had some sort of set with views in there, Python would not be able to distinguish them from each other. This is why we're going for a dictionary. All right, so let's go back to the test. So we have subscribe, and now let's actually set the value, right? So on the window object, there's going to be another method called set status bar message, and it gets the expected message, right? This one. So we're going to have self assert equal self actual, which is a function that we're going to implement in a second, equals expected. Okay, and actual is going to be defined right here. Whoops. Actual self. It will retrieve the actual value from the view. Get status, which is how we call the method, right? Get status should yield something or nothing. Get status self test key. So this is the actual method on the actual Sublime view. Okay, so I believe we're done with our tests, and you know what? Let's restart Sublime. Let's run it and let's see what happens. It should tell us that it doesn't know the set status bar message function. Oh, actually, I did the same mistake as I always did. Hold up, I forgot to import the actual window. I do this all the time. It's crazy. Actually, what's that? What's that? Oh, right. This is what the test opened. Hold up. So, test window, from window, import window. Okay. Let's close this one for a second. All right. So let's test. Come on. Oh, error. What is that? Yeah, window object has no attribute set status bar message. Anything else? No, just that, just this one. But look at this. It opened this tab, right? Actually, two of them, because we had two tests. Remember, so we had the setup function that runs before every test. So we have two tests, and it ran 2 times, and it created a new file 2 times. But in the tier down, we're not closing it. So let's actually close it. And now it's going to happen so fast that we're not even going to notice that they open. Oh, do we need to reload? Do we need to restart Sublime for that? I thought it would be fine. All right, so I still have one open. Damn it. Okay, so I honestly don't know why it doesn't close them. It might be a limitation of Python that if something on the language level crashes, like the method is actually not there, then maybe the testing framework cannot actually help us out. So it cannot catch this kind of error, which, you know, it's not ideal, but it shouldn't be a problem once we're done actually implementing it. So let's do it. Let's go to window. Let's close these tabs, and actually let's close the console for now. Let's go to window and implement the method. So it's going to be called dav set status bar message, and just gets the message. And all it is going to do is it's going to iterate through the views, and this is how you do it in Python. use values. So we only need the values. View sad status, and this is the one from Sublime. And now it just gets the key, this one, and the values message. And you know what? Let's not only have that. Let's also have some sort of debug thing. Debug message, message, and it's just gonna be here. Debug message, which is just gonna have a timestamp, which is gonna show us, whoops, hours, minutes, and seconds. Dot format, datetime, now, and let's import datetime for that. And let's print it out. So first we're gonna have the timestamp, and then the message. So if you've never seen this before, so this gets the actual datetime object and makes a string out of it in this format, and this one just prints it out was the timestamp here and the message here. Unless I did some mistakes, except from the unsubscribe method, which is a nice thing to have when you do it and pops up. This object is actually done. So let's restart Sublime and actually run this test, because it should be fine. At least one of them. All right, so so both of them are actually fine, and as you can see, the close file actually worked. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to add a few more things to the assert function. We're also going to say self window. Oops, sorry. Window unsubscribe. Unsubscribe this view. Let's go and implement it real quick. So let's just put it here. Def unsubscribe self view. Did I type it right? Yeah, I did. Look at view, and we're just gonna try delete it from self underscore views view.id, and if it doesn't work, then at least we tried. So this is how you remove elements from a dictionary in Python. So you give it the ID in the rectangular in the square brackets, and you call the del keyword, which is a bit weird. I'm not sure if I like it, but anyway, this is how it works. So let's go back to the test window, and so now we unsubscribed, which means that there are no view subscriptions left. Okay, so now let's see what happens if we set the status bar message to something else, and then we're gonna assert equal that self actual is still expected. In fact, let's have a comment here. Say so it's gonna read like this: no view subscriptions, so it should still be something, not something else. And let's restart Sublime and test it. Right, test window object has no attribute window because I'm an idiot as always. There we go. Right, there we go. It's all good. Actually, let's see it fail for a second. So if unsubscribe just does nothing, like that. I'm not sure if it's valid Python actually. Let's just return none to be sure. I just want to see it fail once. Yeah, so it fails. All right, so let's revert that. So this is the whole thing, right? This is the whole window. It's just a tiny wrapper around the pops up for the views. So we can subscribe views, we can unsubscribe views, and that's it. Actually, what the hell? No, actually, let me explain the test first, real quick. So this is the test, 60 lines, and we wrote them not because there's something important here. We wrote them because I wanted to show you how to do this setup and tear down, because most plugins for Sublime Text are going to be for something that modifies files probably, right? So the one that we're writing is just for fun, but most of the plugins would need something that works with files. Okay, so now let's actually use it. Let's go to our main Spotify web object, and we need to insert this side effect. Okay, so the side effect is going to be obviously a window.set status bar message, and all we need to do is to actually create a window object. So we're here, window equals window, and the key is going to be Spotify web. Actually, hold up, Sublime settings manager. Why can't I jump in there? All right, why can't I jump in there? Because it's called settings manager. Settings manager over here, settings file name. Settings file name. Is that better? Yeah, maybe that's better. Let's leave it like this. And how did we call it? Window set status bar key, right? So maybe it's more readable. I'm not sure. So that's almost it. All we need to do now is to actually import it. Window, and that's it. And it's gonna say and blah 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 because it didn't reload everything probably. So we need to create a Spotify web object here that is extending Sublime plugin event listener. And do we have Sublime plugin here actually? Yeah, we do. All right. And this one has a bunch of methods and a bunch of hooks, and one of them is called onActivated self view, and we're just going to say window subscribe view, and the other one is called onClose self view, just going to call unsubscribe. And what we will also do is in the very beginning, where we have this this thing, maybe even here, we're gonna say window subscribe. Basically, we're gonna get the active view, active window active view. All right, and that should be enough. So there we go. It says believer over here, and it shows us the debug message believer. And if we open a new view, check it out. New view, nothing is shown, but now there we go, believer. All right, so that thing works, and we're almost done actually, and we're like half an hour into the video. So I really wanna do this deployment thing. So the video might get a bit longer than 1 hour. So it feels like we're almost done, and we actually are. There's just a lot of really small bells and whistles that we need to add. Okay, it's mainly the cleanup actually. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to remove that. In fact, because we don't want our users to have this. And this command running to open the console every time they start Sublime. So let's cut it out, And let's actually do the same thing as we did in one of the first videos. We're going to create a plugin. We're just going to remove everything and do that. And we do that on plugin loaded. And for that, we import Sublime. And let's store it as packages user. Sure, fine. Open console on boot. All right, so I believe it already worked. Yeah, so it still works, for us, but not for people who have our plugin. So the next thing that we do is we need to go to, cool thing. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the settings manager, and we're going to add a teeny tiny method here, a teeny tiny method which will be called our credentials at least partially empty or none. So over here we're just going to say return IDs none, or IDs empty, or secret is none, or secret is empty. So the ID, the client ID and client secret, when they're none or empty, then they actually throw exceptions. So we can't use these methods to retrieve them. So we're just gonna type it ourselves. Let's just copy that. And over here we're gonna say ID equals that, but it's not gonna be called read credential. It's just gonna be called read, and that is going to be the secret. So we just copy pasted a few lines of code because I don't want these to throw exceptions. I want them to either be none or empty. And why did we implement this thing? We implemented this thing so that we can go into our main file and implement a function here. Actually call it here. Open settings window if credentials are not set. And we're gonna define it over here, just over here. Notice that we're not inside of a class, so we don't need the self here, okay? So we just have that, and all it's going to do is it's going to say if settings manager dot and that guy, right? Then Sublime settings manager, no, not that one, not that one, that one. Open settings window. Remember the same thing as we're doing here in this command, where we say settings for Spotify web, we click, they open. The same thing should happen if the credentials are not set. So if I did it right, if I save it, oh, it doesn't open because I did a tiny typo over here, like that. All right, so Spotify settings. So if we comment out that one, for example, right? Let's save it, and we don't need to restart Sublime, which I think it's enough to just save here. Yeah, see, so it opened. So basically, when our users will install the plugin for the first time, right? It will realize that the credentials are not set, and it will open this. Okay, and this is what we're going to improve right now. In fact, I don't want to waste your time, so I'm just going to copy paste it from over here. And this is the old version where I had this called Spotify web, and this is called bool, right? So these are the default settings. So let's close it for now, and again to demonstrate. So the users install the plugin, they probably restart Sublime, and this gets open. I mean, without the console, right? The console doesn't get open, but this gets open. So they see this, and on the right side it will actually be empty because this is my file, right? On the right side it will be empty, and they will see this. So these are the default settings. So they see the client ID is not set, the client secret is not set, the plugin is disabled, the redirect port is 8080, and the refresh interval in seconds is 5. Oh, by the way, I just remembered I should change it to 2 because the minimum. So these are this is the valid range. So the port can be between this and that, and the interval in seconds should be between this and that. And right now it's implemented was 1, and I was playing around with it, and it actually does some weird things if it's 1. So let's change it to 2. Let's change it to 2 right now because I don't want to forget it. So it's in the settings manager. It's gonna have a 2 here. And in the tests for the settings manager, here, it's going to have a 2, and it's going to have a 2. I believe that should be enough. Let's restart Sublime real quick, and it should open the settings file actually. Yeah, let's close it. In fact, right now, let's not do that because it's just going to bother us. So let's run the tests. All right, there we go. I didn't break anything. Oh, and I just realized that we should have, just to be sure, in case there's some bug in the future version, let's just set status bar message to nothing in the beginning. Okay. All right, the next thing that we do is actually something that we did not need here because the plugin was already, I already knew exactly what to do to show it to you guys. But when I was developing it, I actually needed a script that was capable of killing Sublime. So I just left it there. So I'm gonna create a folder called util, and I'm gonna add a file called kill Sublime, which is a shell script. And I'm just going to copy paste it because I don't want to lose it once I'm done recording. So it's obviously going to work on the Linux system. It might not work. It might actually work on Mac. I'm not sure. I'm not a Mac person, so I don't know. So I'm just going to leave it here. We don't actually need it now. Another thing that I'm going to show you is if we go to Firefox and open, let's Google for Sublime API, API reference. Yeah, so this is the main docs page, and it says here, threading. All API functions are thread safe. However, keep in mind that from the perspective of code running in an alternate thread, application state will be changing while the code is running. What was happening to me sometimes is that I remember in the beginning we're running the main loop. So what the documentation says is that once everything is loaded, then all the plugin calls are thread safe. But while it's still loading, and we start doing things like creating a server, and we were doing some threading with timers and everything. What was happening sometimes was that if I was not authorized, so if I didn't have a cache token, then the Sublime would hang. Sublime would hang while we wait for the login and everything. And there's an easy way to avoid it. All we need to do is on the main Sublime object, there's this function called set timeout async, which is probably just also creating a timer, and we give it the run main loop function. And we give it an interval. So instead of calling it ourselves right here, we wait 5 seconds and let it run. And we're just going to add a comment, which I'm going to copy paste because again, this video is already way too long and we didn't even get to deployment. So yeah, when Sublime starts up and the plugin is enabled, the server should start on a different thread so that Sublime doesn't hang until the circuit breaker kicks in. Okay, this also means that if I restart it now, that the first 5 seconds nothing is going to happen. Like I have Spotify running on a different monitor, so only 5 seconds, and then something is happening. In this case, it says please specify Spotify web string client ID in preferences, package settings, Spotify web settings. Actually, let's do that. Preferences, package settings, Spotify web settings, and because we commented it out, Right. So, and now you see how you remind me. Isn't that cool? The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add back the icon, but not for Spotify. I just spontaneously decided that that I want to have my own over there. So let's add it over here, and so this is still the Spotify one. Let's see. Let's just put it in the same folder. I'll just switch into the folder where I have all my logos, and all we need to do is we need to copy the logo black, and we should probably take the smallest one and have this one into, actually maybe white's gonna look better. That doesn't really matter. Let's take the black one and let's copy it into my home folder .config Sublime 3 packages. Nope, not this one. Why did you jump in there? Into that one. Into resources. Right. So now it should be over here, and we need to rename it to all right. So now if we go back to index and say open in browser. Okay, it's right here. It's super tiny, but it's better than nothing. Okay. The last thing that we need to do is we need to modify the README file, right? Because as of right now, we have our user stories in there. Remember, and let's actually read through them. As a user, I need to be able to log in into my Spotify account so that I can view my current tracks. Well, works. As a user, I need to be able to toggle, enable, disable the plugin so that I can turn it off without uninstalling it. Works. As a user, I need to be able to change the polling interval so that I can feel like I'm in control. Works. As a user, I want to be able to change the settings of the plugin without having to restart Sublime Text for better user experience. Actually, that also works. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to copy paste a README file from somewhere else. We're not going to read it here, we're going to read it when we open it actually on GitHub. Notice that thing. So we're going to have a picture that is going to look like a thumbnail from the YouTube playlist for the plugin, right? And this is how you do it in Markdown. So we're gonna give it an image, which I'm gonna put in a few seconds. So this is the image, and this is what it's going to say if the image does not exist. I believe this is the does not exist part, and the whole image is what is clickable, and when it's going to be clicked, it's going to redirect to that, and this is what is shown on hover. So let's actually add this file. Actually, I'm going to cut it out. Hold up. All right, so I actually copied it into the resources folder. Let's check it out. It's over here. That's how it looks like. So I just put the YouTube icon over there, and I believe that's actually it. Hold up, let me close everything. Let's go to the main file, which is this one, and make sure that this one is there again. Okay, and let's restart Sublime. Last check if it's if it's all working. Okay, so it shows me the track. It shows me the tests are running, I believe. Yep, everything is fine. And also, let's remove that thing from window, the debug thing. Let's not debug. All right, I believe that we're actually done, but before we commit it, let's do one last thing. Let's switch into it. And let's remove the cache token, because I still want to see that the authorization thing works. Connecting, that takes longer than it should. All right. All right, so it seems like it's all good, and I still see the song. Let me switch to the next song, Sound of Silence. There we go, Sound of Silence. All right, so let's commit it. Git status, bunch of new files. video 8 ready for the first release. Git push, and let's go to, what's it close again? Alright, it's over here, and look at our beautiful readme file. We can click on that and it's going to show me the playlist. Let's go back. All right, so let's read through it real quick. It says display connects to your Spotify account and pulse for the current track. It then displays the track title in the status bar sublime text. The song is only displayed if Spotify is on pause stop. It is also possible to enable disable the plugin and also change the polling interval. Installation, search for Spotify web on package control, which is hopefully going to work, or clone this repository into preferences, browse packages. Note that the plugin depends on Spotify, which in turn depends on requests. The format is included in this repository, while the later is fetched by package control. So even if you download this repository manually, you still need to have package control installed to fetch the dependency on requests. Requirements. This plugin has only been tested within Sublime-text 3. And in fact, the way we're going to publish it to package control is we're going to say that it's only for Sublime-text 3. Not that we couldn't have made it work for Sublime-text 2. Tiny note, why do I have to register my own app? Oh, by the way, I forgot, we didn't look through the settings, through the, hold up, source, Sublime settings, that one. So remember, if the credentials are not set, then this file is going to be open, and it's and it gives instructions. It says, register, takes less than a minute, your Spotify app at this link. Use any name or description you like. Use this URL as a redirect URI. Change the port if you have something else running on it already. Copy and paste the client ID and secret, and potentially the port to your settings file, and then set this field to true, which is actually a mistake. Hold up. Over here, it should be called bool. There we go. Fix tiny copy paste error. All right, push. Okay, so if you refresh that now, it should be, refresh again. There we go, bool. Okay, so it's basically instructions. So let's go back to the README. Right, so they've seen the instruction, and then maybe they wonder why do I have to register my own app. And we extracted this from developerspotify.com. Always store keys securely. Regenerate your client secret if you suspect it has been compromised. So it's not a full-blown explanation, but basically it says, hey, I can't give you my keys. Okay, that's all. So we're basically done here. Oh, by the way, notice that I also added a link, and there's a description, there's a link, and there are also tags. Like you can click on here, manage topics, and you can add topics. And this is for people to be able to find it easier. So all we need to do now is actually go to releases and add a tag. Create new release. Version 0.0.1, no dot here. First release, right? This is a preload, not production, not production. No, it's not. It's an actual release, publish release. All right, that's how it looks like. So if you go to the main repository again, if we click here, we can also switch to tags and see the release. And this is also what package control will need. All right, so we're actually done with the whole thing. All that is left to do is to deploy it, and we're already about an hour, but I really wanted to deploy it now. I don't want to have an extra video. Actually, it would be kind of cool to have a separate video how to deploy, plugins to package control, but it's just not really worth an entire video. So we're gonna do it now. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to package control again. Package control. We'll go to docs. We go to submit in a package, and so we did that. We picked a name, we decided how to host, we picked a version strategy, that was a tag thing. Prepare your repository. We basically need to remove a bunch of files, but we don't even have that. We don't have PyC files, we know the compiled Python files to C. We don't have any meta stuff. We don't have any fancy names, fancy file names. And this one is important for us, actually. It says, if including executables or shared libraries, add a .no sublime package file. Adding this file to the root of your repository will prevent package control from keeping a package packed as a Sublime package file in sublime-text 3. So starting from sublime-text 3, the package control started to package the plugins into some sort of zip file, and I'm not sure if it's going to work with our cache token, because we're actually creating files and stuff, so we would need to get out of the zip somehow. So this is a cool workaround. So all we need to do is create a file called like that over here, no content, just like that, Sublime package, and we're done. Let's just commit it. Right, git add everything, and then commit, and then push. All right, refresh. There we go, Sublime package is here. Where's it here? Is he there? Refresh, there we go, Sublime package. Okay, let's go to releases, draft new one, paste that in here, version 0.0.2. Okay, publish release, invalid tag, what? That's funny, invalid tag name, and then it actually created it. Tags, right, there we go, it's all good. Just a tag. So by the way, tag is not a GitHub feature, it's a Git feature, but we can do it on GitHub as well. So let's go back to the docs. So we prepared the release. All right, so we need to do 0.6 and 7 and 8. So all of these, they don't need our plugin anymore. So what we're actually going to do, just to avoid any confusion, let's delete our plugin. Let's remove the whole folder. So if we start Sublime, it's kind of open an empty folder now, actually, right? So all right, so the first thing that we need to do is fork the package control panel. All right, let's go there. It's over here. First of all, let's start it and let's watch it. Watching. Let's fork it and fork it to dev inside you. All right, so it's forking. Forking is a GitHub concept, by the way, not Git. It's basically cloning the whole. It's like cloning. So remember, the first thing we did was we cloned our repository to our local machine. Forking is cloning on the GitHub level. So so somebody else has it. We clone it to ours with the entire history. Okay, so see right now it's under dev inside you. See, dev inside you. So we don't only have Spotify web, we also have package control panel channel. Sorry. Right. So we go back here, and it says, okay, clone your fork to your machine. All right, let's do that. SSH, copy. Let's see, what do I have here? I'm gonna create a directory called temp. Oh, it already exists. Let's go there. So what I have, some stuff there. All right, so git clone that guy. Cloning. No. All right, actually, let's for fun see how big it is. 15 megs. All right. So next thing is open the package control channel folder. All right. Well, that was kind of obvious. Let's go into there, and I have an alias where I can say sub, and it does subl dot. So notice that it opens this file, this folder, and the previous one. Let's close the previous one. Let's maximize that. So this is the repository. Okay, and what do we have here? Add package info based on the type of hosting. All right, so we need to add something like that to something. All right, so let's see, I guess repository, and they're sorted by name. So there's S, let's go to S, and we see a bunch of packages here, this one, and so on. So remember the Spotify one that we found for macOS? It should be somewhere here, and right there it is. And it looks like there's something else, Spotify control. It works only for Windows though. And I actually found it, and it's like a month ago, and I don't know why he said that it only works for Windows. From what I'm seeing is it should work was on every platform, because what he's doing the same thing. He's going for server. He's creating a server to accept a request, and he also has a what is it? A client. He calls it API and stuff. So actually, this might be the reason why our package is not going to be accepted into the package control. Let's hope. It's actually kind of funny how fast things are moving in the software world. Even something that is so sort of unique, like who would want to have Spotify inside of Sublime? There are already like 3 plugins now, right? Funny. Let's just copy that one. Let's copy that one, and let's try to sort them. Maybe they're sorting them. So copy. Okay, so it's called Spotify Web, and it's under github.com. Actually, I don't want to have a copy paste error here. So let's go here, Spotify Web. Let's just copy that. Copy that. Put it over here. Is that? Yeah, that's ours. All right. Over here, labels, music, sure. This one also adds Spotify. Why not? I don't even know what label are for. Maybe for searching. So maybe if people search for Spotify or search for music, they will find this. Previous names, we don't really have that. Releases, Sublime Text. So ours is actually like that one. So it's only for Sublime Text 3. And platforms, actually for all platforms. So it's a star. Text true. Actually, the docs don't say anything about that, right? Oh no, they do. Text true. All right. So text true. Let's see. It's tabs. It's all good. There's a comma here. There's a comma here. All right. What else? Platforms. We did that. Run the test. Okay, so install the channel repository tools package. All right. So Command-Shift-P, install this one. Okay, and run this command. Let's see what happens. Never did that before. Including remote. I don't know. Let's do the regular one. Failures 1. Oh my god, we did something wrong already. Packages must be sorted alphabetically. So I guess we did it wrong. Alphabetically by what? Right here, Spotify control. So it doesn't like that. How is that not alphabetically? Let's not get into that right now. Let's just put it down. Cut it and put it over here. All right, let's do the same thing again. Test. All right, so now we're all good. Maybe they're not. No, they do sort by name. Anyway, is there a typo? Spotify. I still don't know how this one is before that one. Doesn't really matter. All right, so next thing, submit a pull request. Browse to your fork on GitHub. Well, actually, we need to commit that first. All right, so we're over here, git status, modified, git diff. We added our thing. So git commit added the Sublime Spotify Web plugin. All right, git push. So in our fork over here, if we refresh that, it should be one commit more. See, it's already over there. Here, added the Spotify Web plugin. It's over here. So let's go back. Click on pull request in the right hand nav and click new pull request. Right, let's see. Let's go back. come back again. It used to be on the right hand side again. Oh, pull request, there we go. I mean, we could also do that, but let's do that, pull request. All right, it says able to merge, these branches can be automatically merged, blah, 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 it's all fine. Let's see. Enter a description in the title field. Am I blind? Where's the title field? Maybe it's gonna show me a warning if the title is empty or something. Ah, there we go. See, they changed it. Man. Automatically have it sure you pass follow the instruction, we did all that. Allow edits from maintainers. Sure. Yeah, so it's all good. Okay, so create pull request. All right, this branch has no conflicts. Some checks haven't completed yet, so they have like Travis CI integrated. So basically, they're gonna go to Travis and run the tests, probably. Travis is a continuous integration platform. So basically, it went straight to Travis, and they're just gonna run the test. But we also did it locally, so it should be fine. It should take some time. I'm gonna cut it out from the video for you, so it's gonna be faster. But I just want to make sure that it succeeds. All right, so it looks like it's fine. Yeah, it's green now. All right, so it says .sublime package files have no business being inside a package. Really? Did I add it into the wrong place? Oh, I should have added the no Sublime package file. Oh, all right. All right. So let's see if we actually can do that from here. Edit. No, Sublime package. It worked. All right, so all we need to do is probably create another tag. Leases. Draft a new one. 0.0.3 and release title. Release version 0.0.3. Rename the .sublime package file to .no sublime package. All right, publish release. All right, so what do I do now? How do I actually tell them that I fixed it? Because the changes that we just did, we did them in our repository, right? Not in the package control channel. Yeah, not even in our fork of package control channel, right? It was just ours. So it's been almost 15 minutes now, and nothing fixed itself automatically. So let's see if we can just let's see if we can close this somehow or cancel it and just try again. Because it says add more commits by pushing to the master branch on dev inside the package control channel, but I didn't do any changes, so I can't do it. Close pull request. Can I close a pull request? Yeah, it's closed. So let's just try it again. Package control, pull request. Right, create pull request. Oh my god, what? No Sublime packages even. Please verify that it is really necessary. There are docs over here that say for reading files from the package within a Python plugin, use the Sublime Load Resources API. We can't do that without modifying SpottyPy, because remember SpottyPy is caching the token for us in a file. So if I wanted to change that, I would need to go to modify their code. These submits, these pull requests are verified manually, right? So what we're going to do is write the following. I am using an external library that reads and writes from files, from files. Therefore, I cannot use the sublime.load resources API. I hope this pull request will be accepted. It's the first time I'm submitting a package. Into package control. Cheers. Let's format it a little bit. And let's from two files resource. Right, I guess comment. All right, so all that's left is to wait. Actually, only I need to wait because you can just jump back to the future. Did it work? What happened? I think it did. Check it out. Welcome to the future. We got accepted. Package control.io, packages, Spotify web, right? And also if we search for Spotify web over here, it shows Spotify web by tab inside you. And a few days already passed, so we're already at version 0.0.12 and we got a few installs. Like 5 of them are me because I was trying it out. But you guys already installed it on macOS and on Linux. Check it out. It also has a homepage and issues, which was taken straight from github.com. Actually, let me show you that. If I open that, so we can click edit here and enter a website. So if we had entered something over here, then it would be shown over there. But since we didn't, it just points us to this page. Okay. So yeah, it shows the README file, and this thing still works, so it's still a link, and it works. All right. Okay, so let me walk you through through what happened. So as you can see, it's merged, right? And we get an answer within 3 days. So I posted this 7 days ago, and the difference, and 4 days ago there was a reply. So it was only a few days, which is kind of cool. So it was pointed out that Spotify, the library that we're using, uses relative import internally. So if we did the same thing, then we basically wouldn't need the no Sublime package file. So he just suggested that if we moved Spotify from lib/Spotify-2.4.4 to just lib Spotify, and then we could change the imports to this syntax from .lib import Spotify, because with a hyphen and those numbers and dots, this syntax would be possible. And apparently this is supposed to help, and it didn't, by the way, but I tried it. So actually, let's walk through the commits and then come back to this. So we left over here, right? And in this commit, I tried exactly what he said, right? So let's go. So he also said that we don't need everything from Spotify. We can just keep those two files. Remember, the client and the auth.py. So all of these are just removals. Let's go completely down. Everything is removed, and we just kept the license, and we kept those two files. So we just moved them from basically, as was suggested, from lib/Spotify-2.4.4/Spotify client.py just to lib Spotify client, and therefore we can do this instead of modifying the path. And actually, in the next commit, I think I improved all imports. So I went through all of the imports in our package, and I just improved it a little. So look at this file, for example, test server. So over there, we were also modifying the path by adding source Spotify, but now we're doing server module equals sys.modules Spotify web.source Spotify server. And then we can just say server equals server module.server. Let me show you this in Sublime, actually. The weird thing about this is actually that this is exactly how I did it the first time I built the plugin. But then when I was recording, I think it was video number 4, this stopped working, and I actually had to stop recording, figure it out, and I couldn't figure it out. So I tried to figure it out the next day, and I had to record it again, and basically I couldn't figure it out. I really didn't know why this stopped working. So I said, okay, you know what the hell, I'm just going to modify the pass. But now it works again. All the tasks are passing. So we're just getting the module with this syntax, all right, basically straight from Spotify web, source, Spotify, and there we go, there's our server, and then we're doing server equals server module dot server, because we can't do this. So we can't do this like that. We just can't. But this basically does exactly the same thing, okay? Let's remove that again. All right, let's go back to commits. So yeah, I improved all of them. I basically there's no modifying path anymore, okay? And then I removed the no Sublime package file, and it didn't help. It didn't help, and I also hold up, Sublime package is fetched. So it didn't help because the settings files wouldn't open, because the path that we're constructing over here was using this packages variable didn't work anymore, because the whole plugin was zipped. And actually, let me show you this real quick. So let's see, if I go to preferences and I have package settings, see, like I have a bunch of plugins installed here, right? But if I go to browse package, and then I see a few of them, but if I go to, hold up, where is it? Install packages. These are the most of them, right? So and this is what package control is doing. It's basically zipping them. And this, for example, so there was a similar one, right? So let's just create a file, new document, empty document. So there was a file here called Spotify web dot sublime-package, right? And this was used in the whole URL, right? So it was trying to go here and then slash what was it, Sublime Spotify dot sublime-settings, right? And this obviously didn't work because this is not even a folder, okay? Where is it? Let's remove it again. Okay, so that didn't work, and I was like, okay, maybe there's another way. So I started Googling around, and I found that there's another way to get this variable. So there's also a method called packages path, but that didn't help because it delivered exactly the same thing. Okay, let's see what I did next. I also tried to use the relative path to cache the token, which also didn't help. Because remember, I was improving all the imports and getting rid of all the absolute path, and I didn't want to modify the path at all. So I thought that if I remove this, which is what I did, that it's going to help, but it didn't. So in the future commit, I changed it back, I think. I changed the way the settings file are open. Hold up. Oh yeah, right. So that actually fixed it. Okay, that actually fixed it. This worked from outside of the zip file. So if we don't do open file, if we don't call the method open file, if we instead run a command and we use open file, then we can use this $packages variable, the same as we used, remember, in the video number 3, I guess, where we were talking about settings and commands. I showed you that if you declare this this in the commands file, so not in a Python file, but in the one which contains JSON, that this variable would actually work. But then I said, but now we're in Python, so we need to retrieve this variable ourselves. And it turns out that that was not the case. So if we do it like this, we're calling the same thing, then Sublime is going to do some magic behind the scenes. It's going to understand, okay, it wants this variable, so it's going to look up the exact location, and it's even going to work if it's inside of the zip file, okay? But even though this worked for the settings, it did not work for the cache token, and also it did not work for resources. Remember, so in the server, remember, if everything goes well, we're trying to open this file, and it just didn't work for the same reason. So I tried out the absolute path again for the token. Again, didn't help. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I really tried. So then I created the no Sublime package folder, and then it worked. And over here, I just did some basically Readme file changes. Doesn't really matter. And I did the same thing again over here. All right, one more tiny thing. So this guy also pointed out that there is a command called edit settings that I can use. Let me show you this. So in the Sublime Settings Manager over here, remember at the bottom we're doing this cool thing that opens the settings window. It turns out that it exists already. It was added to Sublime a bit later. So now it was like 3.0. So if we comment the whole thing out, right? Let me close. Let me make it a bit bigger. So if we do this instead, so if we just run a command called edit settings and give it the same basically location for the base file, then it's going to do exactly the same thing. But I decided to leave it actually in as it is. First of all, because we already wrote it. Secondly, because it's doing exactly the same thing. And thirdly, because we had to submit the pull request to the package control repository, and we already specified that it's enough to have Sublime 3. So this command was added a bit later, and I just don't want to submit another pull request because it involves manual work. So I'm just trying to avoid it. All right, so let's actually try it out. Let me go to preferences. No, actually I can do it like this, right? Spotify web settings. And I'm just gonna copy that out real quick. And we're gonna go to Windows. I have a folder open here. So this is a fresh instance of Sublime Text. Okay, so if I open it now, it's a portable version. So if I open it now, it opens over here. Nothing is installed. And by the way, check it out. Remember the way I told you how to install package control? There was like a big command that you copy paste into the console. It turns out that Sublime has it already built in. So if you just go to command palette and say install, the only thing you see install package control. You just click on it, boom, and it works. I'm not sure. Check it out. Package control was successfully installed. Blah blah blah. I'm not even sure if we need to restart, but I'm just gonna do it just to be sure. So now it's restarted. Now we go Command-Shift-P, install package. All right, and Spotify web. There we go. It's right there. It says displays the current track in the status bar of Sublime Text. Install version 0012. It also shows github.com/dev/Spotify web. So it's kind of cool. So let's see what happens. Click. It installs it. Did you see that? That was kind of cool. So it first of all, it also let's go to data. Packages. So it downloaded request, it downloaded Spotify web. It's not zipped. It looks exactly the same as before. Let's have it over here maybe. And remember I just copy pasted the settings. So let's just paste it in. So it already has my ID, it already has a secret, and it already should be enabled. And I'm not gonna edit this, I'm just gonna save the file, and it should just magically work because in Chrome I'm already logged in. So it opens it. I'm actually logged in a different Chrome. Hold up. Log in. Oh, it actually remembers my stuff. All right. No, thank you. Never. It worked. And as you can see, it plays frantic. Let's close that one. It should play it here as well. Let me bring in Sublime. It's over here. Oh yeah, so it switched to filling this. It plays filling this. Now it's going to play the first date. First date. There we go. All right, let me bring it back. Let's go back to the VM. Just a few final words here. So first of all, the repository is still here. You can browse through all the changes. This is not the last video in this playlist. Right. By the way, feel free to start this repository. Yay, points. So there's going to be 2 more videos in this playlist. The first one is going to be me discussing the architecture that we used, a few decisions that we made. For instance, what exactly is the difference? What exactly are the benefits or the drawbacks of delivering the package in a zip or not? Also, we're going to discuss the Spotify API a little bit. We're also going to discuss my opinion about Python, because I was super excited to use Python. It was the first time, and Python is one of the very, very few languages that I never ever heard anything bad about. Like seriously, never. So I was super excited. And also my opinion about writing plugins in Sublime Text and so on. So it's basically going to be just you and me just sitting here, just hanging out, and I'm just gonna talk. I don't think that it's gonna be scripted, so it's just gonna be like 4 points that I'm gonna make. I believe it's 4. I already made a few thoughts, had a few thoughts about it. And then the very last video in this playlist is going to be the one that I promised you before this whole playlist was started. So watch this video again. Maybe I think it's just 4 minutes or something, which explains what's gonna happen. All right, so we're in the end of this video, and check it out. We actually even have an issue already. So one guy, he had a problem with, and he still has it actually. I can't solve it. He has a problem with, not here, with Spotify actually. So in the Spotify folder, there is client. Sorry, not client. Is it client? No, the OS2 thing. Yeah. So somehow his Sublime is confused if he should use Python 2 or Python 3, even though he goes to the console and he says import sys. Why don't I see anything here? Come on, there we go. Import sys, and what's happening? Sys.version. Check it out. Check out my CPU. It's going crazy because I'm recording. Like, what's happening? Do I have to type it here? There we go. So he types this in, and he also sees the same thing, and he's on the same Ubuntu version, but somehow it doesn't like this import, and it also doesn't like that import, right? And then somewhere later, we're using, Spotify uses URL encode, and it just says, hey, I can't find this method. Okay, if some of you out there are, are Python experts, can you maybe help this guy out, because I have no idea. I really tried. I hope you like this video. Let me know what I can do better. Like it, subscribe if you still haven't, and see you next time.